Hello, my name is Angela Hayes, and I'm the Associate Director of Alumni and Online Career Engagement. Today we'll be talking about job search during the time of COVID-19. This webinar and the ones that follow are going to be a bit different than my webinars in the past. So we're going to spend about 15 to 20 minutes on the material. I'll be recording that part, and then I will stop the recording and take people's questions so that everyone can feel comfortable and it can be a confidential environment to ask your questions about job search. And then this webinar will be posted on YouTube, and the links that are in the webinar will be in the comment section below so that you'll be able to click on anything that comes up in the presentation. So let's get started. Although hiring has slowed down, many companies are still actively recruiting and looking for strong talent to problem solve and continue to be resilient in this new normal of COVID-19. While less overall hiring right now means a more competitive search, you can also leverage this time to stand out within your job search by being strategic, intentional, and flexible. Some industries are growing significantly in response to the virus and are actively hiring. Also, I'd like you to think in terms of your options. In addition to full-time employment opportunities, companies are hiring to fill project-based or contract-based positions. So during this time, the opportunity to enhance your expertise, build your network, reflect on your next steps professionally, these are all present within these current times. Also, hiring for project-based and contract-based, that's likely to go a lot more quickly right now. For full-time employment, it will still take longer, and probably longer than it did pre-COVID, just because companies are also adjusting to all of the changes and a lot of their employees working remotely and that kind of thing. Except, I would say, for industries who are scrambling to fill positions because of COVID. So there are industries that can't keep up with the demand, and they're hiring a lot of people very quickly. We'll talk about that a bit later. So we can't obviously predict when this virus will subside and the job market will steady itself, but we can choose to adequately equip ourselves with information to gain job stability. So today we'll be talking about the best ways to job search during these uncertain times and ways to gain confidence and clarity as you move forward in your career. These are the three main areas that we're going to cover. How to be strategic in each of these areas. So we'll be talking about targeting your search, increasing and improving your network, and learning new skills that will make you an even more attractive candidate. But first, let's talk about flexibility. One of the most important things to keep in mind in this new reality is that flexibility is key. To stay flexible, it helps to first assess your transferable skills more broadly than what you probably have in the past. We all have a tendency to think of our skills as it relates to our current position or the positions that we plan to target. But thinking more broadly, you're able to greatly expand your job search. So if you're laid off or furloughed from one of the hardest hit industries, for example, you can begin thinking about how your skills might be leveraged in a completely different industry. So I've got a couple of links that you can click to learn more about transferable skills and then how you would put those on job applications. So once you have a list of industries to consider, you can also begin attending webinars, virtual conferences, even looking at volunteer opportunities in these types of industries to see if you could be a good match and to begin networking your way into these industries. The next step is then branding yourself online to be relevant to those industries, which we'll discuss in a future webinar, and to make a plan. In our current circumstances, I'd recommend a plan A, B, and C. So targeting your job search. Once you've looked at things more broadly in terms of your transferable skills and all the different industries where those could apply, you can begin to bring it down to specific company targets. So in the last slide, we talked about targeting industries as a whole. Now we're looking at specific companies. I've talked to some alum who think it might be better to just wait this out and not apply until things have returned to normal. I disagree, unless, of course, the illness of a family member or some other personal issue makes it a bad time to job search. But in general, first, we don't know when normal is going to happen again. And second, companies are still hiring. If you drop out now, someone else is going to get the job that would have been yours. So if you can, stay in the search and stay engaged with networking contacts, companies, recruiters, and hiring managers. We'll talk about specific ways to do that most effectively in a bit. So instead of blindly applying for everything, focus your efforts on leveraging your network to target specific companies and organizations. I've given you some links to help you target. The first one is updated in real time, A to Z. It tells you who's currently hiring, who's in a hiring freeze, and who's laying off. Now, hiring freezes, furloughs, and layoffs don't mean that you can't get a job there, because it might be that your specific skill set is very needed. It's just something that you want to consider when you decide whether or not you want to target that company or whether or not you might want to take a job there. That second link is companies that are hiring on our Career Center job board, Handshake, right now. You can get in as a student or alum. If you have any trouble getting in, let me know. I also gave you lists of industries that are in a growth cycle right now. That article only has a few because some of this is changing daily. For example, right now, industries that are the most likely to have immediate opportunities are essential goods retail, food producers and food delivery, products that enable work from home, marketing, tech, online financial services, online learning companies, healthcare, online entertainment and gaming, and consulting and business services. But that can change. As you've seen with so many things during this crisis, so many things change daily. So we could consider that the list for today. Other ways to see who's hiring is using tools like Google Alerts, TalkWalker, and Twilert. So these are basically different ways to get alerted about jobs that might be of interest to you based on the search criteria you've entered. This will save you massive amounts of time. I also want to point out that a lot of positions get posted on social media that don't get posted anywhere else, not on the company website, not on places like Indeed. So it is really helpful to set up these kinds of alerts. Now, given all this information, you can then create targeted company lists. If you'd like to learn more about creating these kinds of lists and maximize the value of networking and informational interviewing based on this list, I would highly recommend the book, The 2-Hour Job Search by Steve Dalton. We also have some additional resources on the 2-Hour Job Search from a talk that Steve did at CSU last year. So if you'd like those resources or information about those resources, get in contact with me and I'll send those to you. So, informational interviews. Once you have that targeted list, you'll want to set up informational interviews as well as directly applying for jobs in these target companies. Now, if scheduling an informational interview for during the day would be difficult, and let's say you've got kids at home or animals that are constantly, dogs that are barking, cats walking across your keyboard, whatever it might be, if you would rather have a more controlled environment to introduce yourself, you could use something like Loom that I've listed here, where you can create a more personalized video introduction of yourself. Now let's talk about short project, gig work, freelance work. So let's say you don't find the kind of full-time work that you'd like, or that you want to try out some new things or learn some new skills. Consider gig work and freelance jobs. Again, think about your top transferable skills and then search for opportunities to leverage these in a different capacity maybe than you have before. You can also think of it in terms of what problems need to be solved right now and how you could help a company solve those problems. These are some good sites to check for these types of positions. as always, if you can connect with someone inside the company, all the better. You'll have a much better chance of securing the project. In my opinion, the best remote job board is flexjobs.com. While I normally steer people away from a platform that charges, in the case of flexjobs.com, it's worth it. It's $14.95 per month to be able to get more access and to apply for jobs. You can look to see what kinds of jobs are on there before paying. And then they have 3 months for $29.95 and I think a year for $49.95. I've also seen some coupons on the internet for 30% off or 50% off right now. FlexJobs is extremely careful about checking the legitimacy of its listings, more careful than any of the other sites. And the site has an unusually high percentage of flexible professional jobs, so full-time jobs that have benefits and everything else that a full-time job would have. I also want to mention that I just saw that they will have a virtual career fair on May 21st from 10 to 5 Eastern time. So you might want to check that out. I also like ratracerebellion.com. This takes the listings and it compiles it into a free daily e-newsletter based on the criteria that you put in. Most of these are on the lower end of the pay scale, $20 an hour or lower. But there's a few higher paying opportunities on that site. On Upwork, you create a profile and then you can browse projects or be found by employers looking for your skill set. Guru is a big player in the freelance space. It has opportunities in over 160 professional categories like website design, programming, graphic design, and so on. It's also a place where you can build your profile and show examples of your work. 10 till 2 was originally designed for moms in Colorado who wanted flexible work and not necessarily from 10 until 2, but part-time jobs that were permanent. So long-term part-time jobs. I want to say a little bit about scams also, because I've seen more of them now than I've ever seen before. So there's some things to watch for. And even in these sites that I've given you, now FlexJobs, I don't think you're going to find a scam there. But the others, they can creep in. They still vet them, but it can still happen, especially because of how many scammers are out there right now with job scams. So some things to watch out for. If they ask you to pay up front for anything, they might say equipment or training or for a background check for you, that's a scam. If they don't interview you or they interview you really briefly through some chat feature, that's a scam. If they give you a really broad job description that you can't even really tell what you'd be doing, but they try to make it clear that whatever you'd be doing, it'd be very little for a lot of money, that's a scam. Also grammatical errors, lots of exclamation points, just like on a scam email. You can also search for the word scam and their company name and on the internet, and you'll probably see plenty of things if they are in fact a scam. If you ask a lot of questions, like normal questions that you would ask about a job, what are the key qualifications for this job? How long have you been in business? Who are your clients? If they get impatient and testy with you for asking those kinds of questions, that's a scam. So in general, trust your instincts. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You're also always welcome to contact me, and I can get in contact with our employer connections people who know a lot about scams and can, and then I can pass on to you the kinds of suggestions they have based on what you're dealing with. Networking. It's always been the best way to get your next job. In fact, 80% of jobs never hit a traditional job posting. Now you'll see them on social media, but not a traditional job posting, not even on the company website or Indeed, places like that. Also, only 12% of people get their next job through only applying online. So even if a job does appear on an online posting, your chance of landing the job in a place where you know someone, so you've connected in somehow, you've networked your way in, your chances are 1 in 16. If you don't know anyone, your chances are 1 in 154. And that was during a good job market. So networking is more important now than it has ever been. Not only do you want to be networking into these companies that interest you, it's also a great idea to stay engaged with others who are job searching. Help them when you can. Passing their name along and having them ultimately get hired helps them. It makes you feel good and more hopeful, and you never know how they might be able to help you in the future. It's also a really good idea to ask if you can help contacts within companies. So let's say that you were in the hiring process before all this happened, before COVID happened. You had gone through the interviews and you were just about to get an offer. And then COVID happened and the company went into a hiring freeze. This is a great time to reach out to whoever your contact was, ask them what the next steps are and when you should check back, but also ask them how you can help, what you can do to maybe help them. Let's say you've worked with remote teams before and you can help them make the transition easier, or how to, how to keep remote teams engaged. It shows them what kind of an employee you would be, that you would reach out and ask how you can help. I've also given you my favorite article here about networking and job searching on social media. And last, you can look for online networking events and job fairs through your professional associations and other sites. I've listed 2 here, 10 Times and Eventbrite. Now this is a perfect time to upskill. Analyze job descriptions that interest you and look to see what skills and experience is needed. Consider whether you have those exact skills, whether you used to have them and need to brush up, or whether you don't have them at all. And then use that information to determine what you need to learn to make yourself an even better candidate. For example, if you're applying for social media or marketing specialist positions, the listing will likely require experience with Google Analytics and Hootsuite. So being certified in either or both would make your resume stand out. You can also list that you're currently taking courses and an expected completion date, or you can just put currently taking short courses in colon, this, semicolon, the next one, semicolon, and so on. I provided here a list of free and low-cost training and certifications. Many of them are providing free training for a specific period of time because of COVID. So you might want to check these out as soon as you get a chance. I also just noticed today that the Project Management Institute is offering free courses in project management. It would be good to check that out. First of all, I've never seen them offer those courses free. And secondly, only about 1% of project managers have a certification in project management. So that could also be something that could really boost your resume. Other kinds of ways that you can learn, of course, are doing volunteer work, short projects, freelance work, like we talked about before. It's important to make a plan for when you want to have mastered these new skills and then do your best to stick to a schedule of completion. I know that's difficult right now. Some days you'll only be able to take very small steps to move forward in your learning and your job search, and that's completely fine. The important thing is that you're moving forward. And then last, take care of yourself. Eat well, exercise, get enough sleep, and go easy on yourself. We're all at some level of fight flight, or freeze during this unprecedented time because of the number of very real threats that are facing us on a daily basis. That can make people feel a bit fuzzy, not as motivated, or angry at the situation, or fearful, and a variety of other reactions. Taking care of yourself and those you care about is the best way to reduce those feelings. Control what you can and try to let go of what you can't. Now, if you'd like to contact me individually for help with your job search or any questions about things that we've talked about today, you'll find my contact information here. I would be delighted to talk to you. Email is going to be the best way to contact me. And remember, for those of you watching this on YouTube, you will find the links in the notes section below. Thank you. Bye.